Welcome to this explainer. Imagine possessing an abstract thought, pure, raw, digital intent, and having it instantly snap into undeniable physical reality. Well, today, we're tracing that exact mind-bending path. We're going to map out a journey that starts from a digital root anchored securely on a decentralized network, all the way out to a physical leaf node executing real commands right there on your desk. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Bridging digital and physical. 2. The meta-JIT substrate. 3. Monitoring with the Stulty HUD. 4. The record of sweat. And finally, 5. Leaf node logistics. Let's just dive right in.
All right, starting with section 1, bridging digital and physical. So, we are currently facing a massive, fundamental clash in modern computing architectures. On one side, we've got the chaotic, guessing nature of modern cloud AI. The sources actually refer to centralized cloud AI as a probabilistic miasma. It's basically this foggy, highly unreliable environment where massive systems just kind of guess at answers. And as we all know, sometimes they just flat out hallucinate. It represents this sort of agentic kingship where you're really nothing more than a tenant renting the right to think. But on the exact opposite side of that spectrum, we have local compute, often referred to as artificial life, or AL. This is where you, the sovereign pilot, have absolute, undeniable, and perfectly deterministic control over the execution. Same input, same output, every single machine, every single time.
But that brings up a huge question. How do we actually bridge that gap? Because let's face it, humans are fundamentally messy, right? We're associative, we're probabilistic by nature. Silicon, on the other hand, is cold. It's rigid. It's strictly mechanical. So to compile our human imagination into the physical behavior of a processor without causing some catastrophic mistranslation, we have to build what's called the semiotic bridge. This framework safely and securely translates our messy human desires into strict, deterministic machine execution.
Moving right along to section 2, the meta-JIT substrate. To fight your way through that cloud fog and establish absolute control, you do not want to use a heavy, bloated graphical user interface. Seriously, shiny buttons just dumb down our ability to express complex thoughts. Instead, you use the sovereign meta-JIT CLI. This tool strips away the entire GUI in favor of pure, explicit keystrokes. Think of it as an agentic typewriter. It natively bridges your human thought straight into machine computation to ensure that your sovereign intent is perfectly captured with zero visual mistranslation.
It's wild, but this futuristic tech is actually grounded deeply in history. If you think back to the incredibly unyielding teletype standards from the 1960s and 70s, they demanded absolute precision to trigger any mechanical action. In that exact same vein, the meta-JIT CLI uses pure exact text to command the machine substrate today. We are relying entirely on exact deterministic text logs to communicate directly with the hardware, just like those early pioneers did.
By utilizing this agentic typewriter, the pilot can seamlessly orchestrate a specialized AI swarm through 3 really brisk deterministic steps. First, establish root intent. This is where the human pilot applies their manual intent simply by typing out the mandate. Second, translate to explicit text. The typewriter translates that intent directly into absolute executable code. And third, execute deterministic strike. The swarm agents read that explicit text and seamlessly execute the physical action. So the human acts as the overarching strategist, and the machine handles all the heavy computational lifting.
Which brings us to section 3, monitoring with the Stulty HUD.
Once that AI swarm is orchestrated, the human pilot absolutely needs real-time, low-latency situational awareness to actually manage the execution. I mean, you can't pilot a swarm if you're flying blind. This is exactly where the Stulty HUD comes into play. The heads-up display acts as the pilot's sight, providing a terminal interface to monitor the live telemetry of the entire swarm's operation. It tracks metabolic pressure, which reveals the context utility percentages of your data. It tracks forensic coordinates, pinpointing the precise location of every single data shard across your repositories. And, crucially, it monitors the mission heartbeat, the real-time progress of the tasks at hand. But there is a brilliant engineering secret that makes this HUD work flawlessly. To maintain absolute, bit-perfect orientation, this terminal requires a direct hardware query. Specifically, it uses the command stty size, redirecting input directly from /dev/tty.
Standard systems usually just pipe data streams, and honestly, those calculations fail all the time, causing annoying text wrapping errors or rendering lag. But by directly querying the controlling terminal device, the HUD calculates the exact screen width, completely bypassing those flawed assumptions. It is a textbook example of prioritizing local, concrete execution over floating digital noise.
All right, section 4, the record of sweat.
We have to ensure that these pure digital commands are actually anchored by undeniable human effort. We need rock-solid proof that a human is truly at the wheel, and we achieve this through the record of sweat. Much like Paul Revere's historic Midnight Ride, where the physical effort of the horse and rider was completely undeniable, you cannot sever the intent of a digital mission from the literal physical calories burned to execute it. The record of sweat creates a permanent, verifiable, cryptographic history that proves, mathematically, that real human physical effort actually took place out at the leaf nodes.
To really wrap your head around this, consider actual physical exertion. There was a study using microfluidic chips that measured human perspiration under physical load, and it revealed extremely high spatial variability across the body. For instance, the forehead outputs 1,710 grams per square meter per hour. The forearm, 1156. The nape of the neck is 998. This biometric data highlights the tangible, undeniable reality of human effort. In our digital architecture, we demand a cryptographic equivalent to this exact kind of physical exertion to prove that sovereign action really occurred.
So, translating that into modern digital terms, that literal physical effort is represented by a massive number, 55.5 million tokens of metabolic flux. That specific energy is permanently etched right into the ledger during a 66-strike forensic assembly protocol. It serves as your undeniable proof of process. It guarantees that human intent was perfectly shielded from all that AI probabilistic noise and was actively carried forward, step by step.
Finally, Section 5, Leaf Node Logistics.
This beautiful four-step state transition maps out the exact flow of the semiotic bridge, taking a root digital intent and trickling it all the way down to a physical hardware leaf. Step 1. The LIFO root hash securely anchors a timestamped history of our data on-chain. Step 2. The KI wrapper acts as the legal entity bounding the action. Step 3. Human effort is verified via that record of sweat we just talked about. And finally, Step 4. That verified action triggers physical GPIO execution through simple electrical pins.
And here is where all that intense cryptography and exact mathematical orchestration compiles into something surprisingly fun. Meet the Flow X42 cheerbot. It acts as a fully functioning robotic vending machine, basically an open-source alternative to a smart speaker, wrapped up in a 3D printed collectible shell. Inside, there's a Raspberry Pi microhost. Whenever a verified state change happens on the network, the cheerbot reads that pure digital truth and uses simple electrical signals to instantly manipulate the real world. It completely bypasses those heavy centralized intermediaries to physically dispense cheer right on your desk.
The absolutely crucial point of this entire system is summarized perfectly by this quote right out of the architecture documentation. The human pilot applies the intent, but the agentic cell executes the sweat. The AI agent is merely a deterministic scriptor. There's no ghost in the machine here. It simply and safely bridges that massive gap between human imagination and machine reality, doing exactly what you command it to do.
So, we've traced this entire journey, from the exact mathematical truth of a digital root, through the agentic typewriter, across the record of sweat, all the way to a physical robot sitting on a desk. Now that we have successfully bypassed decades of clunky centralized interfaces to directly connect digital truth with physical robotics, there is really only one question left. The semiotic bridge is built. What are you going to program it to do?